One advantage of using the ebook in Launchpad is, in addition to giving you answers to the check for understanding problems and the exercises, it also allows you to access videos and other online resources that go with the different sections. On page 36, it refers you to a statistical applet, and if you click on that applet, you'll get to this page right here. And I think originally it starts out on this page, data sets. And the foreign-born data set is the one that's referred to in the section about histograms, is used as an example. It suggests that you go to the histogram and check and see what happens when you change the number of classes. In the book it says you can grab and drag the x-axis, but on my computer I wasn't able to do that. But you can up here change the number of classes. The classes are the numbers of bars. So let's see what happens when we change from 6 bars to 8 bars. And we see that the shape is not as stair-step looking as it was before. We can see there's a little more variability in the shape. It's still skewed to the right, but not in such a predictable way. What if we change to 10 classes? Now we notice a gap in the graph, and we see an outlier. So sometimes changing the number of bins that you have, decreasing the bin width, will show up features of the graph that weren't apparent before. Now I noticed that my bin sizes, this goes from left 0 to right 2.8, and from 2.8 to 5.6 are kind of nice, not nice numbers. Since I have 10, I think I'm going to make this go from 1 to 30 instead, and see then if that's a little nicer. Actually 0 to 30 would probably work better. If I go from 0 to 30, notice then this goes from 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and so forth. So in adjusting your lower and upper values and your number of bins on your calculator, it's your bin width and your lower value, you can make them look nicer. This actually tells me a whole lot more about the data than the original figure did. This is telling you what percentage or what number of states has a certain percentage of foreign-born residents. So if we look here at this bin now, we see that the frequency is 6. 6 states have between 0 and 3% foreign-born residents. Here we see the majority of the states, 17, have between 3 and 6% foreign-born, and so forth. Then we see one outlier here. One state has between 27 and 30% of its residents are foreign-born. That happens to be California. We can see this as an outlier a lot more clearly if we increase the number of bin sizes. Now it's possible to have too many bins. Okay, so if I make this like 20 or something, let's see what this looks like. We don't see the overall shape of the data as clearly. We can see that there's a majority of the states are have 15% or less, and then there's some outliers above that, so that's maybe helpful. If we get way too many classes, so let's say if it's 25 classes, then we're almost looking at every 2 states in each bin. So, or every 2%, I should say, in each bin. So you have to be reasonable. You don't want too many and you don't want too few. I would say that the 6 was too few. 10 was really a good number. 10 showed the overall shape of the distribution as unimodal and skewed to the right. It showed an outlier. It showed where the majority of the states were. And so we see kind of a second clump here, and the main clump, a second, maybe a little clump here, and then an outlier. So it doesn't mean that I couldn't go to 12 classes and still be fine, but use this shape, kind of play around with your histogram before you decide. Don't just say, okay, that's the first thing I got, I'll just use that. Try increasing or decreasing the number of classes. Usually on the Nspire, it gives you too many classes to start with, or the bin widths are too narrow, you need to widen them a little. But try some different ones to see what makes the shape and the key features of the distribution show up most clearly.